The importance of setting up your workstation really cannot be understated. It's absolutely vital for your long-term health that everything is set up correctly in order to allow your body to be in its correct postures. Something I often might say to people is, if I asked you to do this and just lift your shoulders and now hold that for 8 hours, you would say, well, that's completely ludicrous. That's going to develop me pain and problems. But if we're sitting at a desk incorrectly, that's exactly what we're doing. And something I also like to remind people is, unfortunately, if we sit at a desk incorrectly, we don't instantly get pain. The pain and problems that people suffer are what we call overuse conditions. So it's doing something slightly incorrectly for a long period of time. So what I want to do is take you through the 4 key areas in order to set up your workstation correctly, no matter what the equipment that you may have available to you. The chair. Now for me, the first and probably the most important thing for us to set is your chair, and set this up correctly. Now whether you're using a height adjustable office chair or a home chair such as a dining room chair, which perhaps doesn't cover those adjustments available, the same 2 key principles still apply. Number 1, your hip should be sitting above your knee joint. And number 2, at the correct height, your shoulders should feel relaxed when operating on your keyboard and mouse. So point number 1, we want your hip to sit above your knee joint. The reason for this, that with the hip sitting above your knee joint, that maintains a forward tilt at the pelvis. This is what we should be doing, this is what we're designed to be doing, and this creates that lumbar curve. The lower we sit, or the more we bring our hip to be in line with the knee, we start to drop that pelvis back, which flattens out the spine, constantly increasing the pressure in your lower spine. For example, have you ever got out of the sofa and felt lower back pain? That's because when we're sitting there, your hips are very much at level or lower than your knee joint. So we're creating extra pressure. So as you get out, you feel sore. So what we want to do is we want to be sitting at a height that allows our hip to sit higher than the knee joint. So either increase, if using an office chair with height adjustment, increase the height of the chair to see that this is possible. Or if you don't have height adjustment, you can use things like a cushion, a pillow, or there are specially designed wedges that are tilted to allow you to sit with this forward tilt. If you find, in order to achieve this correct height, you lose contact with your feet on the floor, that's okay. What you don't want to do is drop the chair down. What we would rather do is slide something underneath your feet in order for you to sit comfortably at the correct height. Point number 2. Once you've achieved this height of the pelvis, what you want to make sure is that your shoulders are relaxed. Commonly, people suffer with upper limb tension, perhaps at the end of the day, and this is usually because they've been sitting with their shoulders elevated, which is very easy to do without realizing. So once you're at the correct height, what I want you to do is just place your hands into your lap. That relaxes your shoulder tension. Then what you want to do is just, without lifting or elevating the shoulders, bring your hands to be in line with your elbows. That is where your keyboard should sit. So if you find at this height that you're sitting and your hands are coming below your keyboard, the chair height needs to be increased further. If you find that you're sitting very high and you're having to stretch down for your keyboard, then you can drop that a little bit. But again, reminder, the 2 key principles: hip joint to sit above the knee joint, shoulders to be relaxed. This is the correct seated height. The screen position is something that I often hear people talk to me about, or understand that they want that eye line to be level with the top of the screen. Whilst this is correct, people often compromise the chair position in order to achieve that. So now that we have the correct chair position, this is where we should be getting the screen into the correct position. And what we're looking for is that when you're looking straight ahead, so imagining a beam of light coming out of your eyes in a horizontal line, that beam of light should be coming into about the top third towards the top of the screen. If you find, as we typically can, that that beam of light goes over the top of the screen, you'll be needing to flex your neck in order to be looking at that screen, which can be placing lots of pressure on the discs or any of the vertebrae or any of the muscular structure around that neck. So if you are finding that you're looking over the top of the screen, what you want to be doing is just placing something underneath the screen, either height adjusting the screen or placing a book or a box or something that just goes below the screen. If you're working off of a laptop, again, the same principles apply. What we would like you to be doing here is elevating that screen. So again, you could be using books or boxes. Just bear in mind that if you are using something that could be flammable, a laptop can become quite hot. So just perhaps what you would place is something like a tray over the top of those books, just to create that distinction between the hot laptop and the flammable surfaces. But what we would want to be doing is elevating that laptop screen so that the same principles of the horizontal eye line can be applying. This will require you to then be using a separate keyboard and a separate mouse in order to achieve a more ergonomic position. The keyboard and mouse. Something that I often see with the keyboard and mouse is that these are positioned too far away from the user. Sometimes we do that to allow for paper to be placed in front of us. We don't want to be doing this. What that causes us to do is then flex forwards. So that creates pressure at the lower back, the upper back, and at the neck. So everything should be kept so that you can maintain your correct posture. So when we're sitting, we want to be seated as upright as possible without feeling like we're being pushed forwards. But once we keep that, that's where we want the keyboard, the mouse, and any other items that we may be using, such as the telephone, to be in close reach. Really, the mouse and keyboard should be as close to us as possible, just allowing enough space at the desk to rest our wrists should we require that. But positioning things too far away will compromise the posture. So bring everything closer to you. Movement. The fourth key thing to remember about setting up your workstation is no matter how well you set up that workstation, there is no substitution for movement. We are designed to be mobile. We are hunter-gatherers by our design. We want to be moving around. So make sure that you are moving at all costs. Even when working, there's multiple times that you can be creating movement breaks, perhaps reading paper documents, stand up and move around. If the telephone rings, then pick up the phone and move around and take that call. A reminder that if you're using a mobile phone, it's very easy to just plug in your headphones, and then makes it very simple to be moving around and keeping mobile whilst working. So remember, at all costs, we want to be making sure that we are not static for more than half an hour or so without a small movement break. Making sure that we're looking away from the screen to reduce any eye fatigue, and making sure that we're up and mobile, either completing work tasks or by just simply moving away from the workstation. These can be short breaks, but it allows the body to go through the processes that it wants to go and prevents the build-up of static posture. If you have any questions or want to ask about any ergonomic equipment, perhaps your individual workstation, please feel free to reach out to me. We can happily speak to you on a one-to-one basis or give you any advice.